robots took my podcast, man.
May I have your attention, please? On behalf of the government of the United States of America, I would like to welcome you to the beginning of the greatest adventure of your lives. Faced with the threat of worldwide development of atomic weapons, a special government committee set into action a plan to provide for the continuation of the human race in the event of global thermonuclear war. You are here because we are now engaged in such a war.
The surface temperature is 214 degrees Fahrenheit.
The day of the individual in our world is gone.
Thermonuclear destruction. 4 billion people.
Everyone up there is gone. They're wiped out.
A perfect new computerized world. 1,758 feet underground. Perfect, except for something the computer forgot.
I saw something. It was just a shadow. I thought it touched me.
Shadow spots on the walls. If you can't see them and you can't hear them, how the hell are you going to fight them?
How did a bat get down here?
The government didn't just dig a hole and plant this installation. They found caves, converted them. Bats live in caves.
There are others. There's no blood source on the surface. So they're either going to cannibalize each other or
find their way back in here.
I hate this place!
I think I found a way out.
How?
Might be possible to climb the elevator shaft and set off the emergency alarm at the top.
1,700 feet straight up. Nobody could climb that distance.
I could.
You're risking your life for nothing, don't you see that?
Chosen survivors.
All right, well, this podcast is going to drive me batty, Anthony. I'm stuck in this room by myself. Nobody's told me anything. I don't know. Everything has gone wrong on this bunker podcast that can go wrong.
Yes.
Bats have flooded the whole area. How long can we survive down here? 3, 2, 1. Welcome to our podcast. The robots took our podcast. Took my pod. Oh my God, let me do that again. What the fuck is wrong with me?
Can we get another guy in here? Can we get someone who knows the name of this podcast?
Can we get a... All right.
Hi, buddy. It's Doug McClure. How you doing?
3, 2, 1. Welcome to our podcast. The robots took my podcast. I am Jordan.
And me amo Anthony. I'm Anthony.
Me amo Anthony. Mi hambre. Mi amigo Anthony. Si. Anthony, 1974. What a year for movies. What a year for interesting and great movies. I mean, hell, that's the year Godfather Part 2 came out and later won an Oscar. That's the year Chinatown came out. That's the year Death Wish came out even.
What a great
Texas
year.
Chainsaw Massacre. Even Sugar Hill, another movie reviewed, came out that year.
Man.
And we're talking about another movie from that year, right?
Yeah.
And so now we have this movie, which we kind of lottery picked, right?
Yeah, so...
Is that the way to say it? I don't know.
It was a Powerball lottery, and let's see if we won or not, Jordan. It was a little bit of a scratch off for sure. Like, originally I just kind of had this hankering to talk about maybe like revisit the 70s. We hadn't talked about some 1970s movies. I mean, we talked about Clockwork Orange sort of, but some really interesting 1970s movies for a while. And I think you and I both like movies from the 1970s.
Right. That's our favorite time period. I mean, mutually, right?
People would really take chances and really swing for the fences. And studios, money would find these crazy ideas, right?
That's the beauty of it. Yeah. They would finance these, the craziest shit would get financed in the 70s, you know, as far as movies went. I mean, that's, I guess, why we love the 70s, why we're fascinated by that time period, that decade so much.
But also... Yeah, very good movies came out in that era, but there was also a string of animal attacks movies, right? Or animals run amok movies in the 70s. And I wanted to talk about one of those because it's a very interesting genre. You've got Food of the Gods, you've got Night of the Lepus, you've got Empire of the Ants was the one I think we wanted to talk about.
The Hellstrom Chronicles. That was another one we debated.
We might still talk about that. I don't know. That's such a weird movie. I don't know. It kind of maybe a good double bill with this movie. I don't know.
Also, what was it about the 70s where they just were finally going, those pets in your backyard are not nice. Those vampire bats you see flying in the horizon might attack someday.
Yeah.
Those insects that you think that you just squash under your feet, they're going to come back and haunt you with a vengeance. They're going to come back and haunt your children.
Yeah. Whereas in the 50s, a lot of these animal run amok, these monster movies, like radioactivity was the culprit, the bomb, right?
Yes. They would be mutated then. They would be ginormous or very small. One of the two.
By the time the 70s came around, I guess budgets had shrunk. I don't know, but they were just
Kingdom of Spiders. That's another one. I'm sorry. Just spilled out of me.
Oh, there's so many. Grizzly. I don't know. So many. And all the B movies. Swarm. What was the one with Michael Caine and
Swarm? Yeah, with Michael Caine and Catherine Ross. Yeah, made by Irwin Allen, I think.
Yeah.
Once again, of course.
Tons of these movies, and usually with a sort of an environmental. Because the 70s, there was, Earth Day and all this. Environmentalism was sort of on the forefront of a lot of people's minds.
Environmental awareness, I guess, more,
So man monkeying around with the environment was causing all this, and this was like nature's revenge, sort of.
Nature's not happy now.
Nope.
Pissed off nature now. That's not a
Nature's
good
pissed off.
Mother Nature's pissed, man.
Mother Nature does not like the bell bottoms.
Mother Nature just opened up a can of whoop ass on you.
And you opened up a can of Aquanet and sprayed it into the atmosphere and made a hole in the ozone layer. And then now that's why you've got frogs attacking you suddenly.
Exactly.
Right? So anyway, we were going to talk about one of those movies, but somehow stumbled across this movie, Chosen Survivors, which, Jordan, I mean, you and I
this gem of a movie, yes.
We've heard of a lot of movies, right? I mean, you've seen the trailer or just reading books or online. I'd never heard of this movie.
How did we miss this one? Amongst you and I together with our knowledge of the 70s movies, and especially the movies that are good and the movies that are bad.
I don't know. So it intrigued me. And then the idea sounded so interesting. What could go wrong, Jordan? What could go wrong?
What could go wrong with this movie? This movie's got to be interesting, at least. And of course, I tried to watch, I have to say this, we watch these movies sometimes 2-3 times before the podcast, right? I don't know about you, or do you? Well, this one I did, after we dug this movie up, I attempted to watch it 2 nights in a row and only got halfway through every time before I would pass out. So I feel like I've spent a lot of time with this movie already.
Wait, have you finished this movie?
Yes, I did finish it.
Oh,
finally.
Okay.
No, those are just the first. Once I had my days off, I had time to sit there and get to the because if you don't get through the other half of the movie, you're like, wait, what's happened? Oh my god!
Oh man, this is not. I can imagine someone like walking through the room like your wife as you're watching this movie in the first half, and then the second half walking through the room and like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, this movie, crazy.
Anyway, so Jordan, Alpine Pictures, all right, apparently only made 2 movies, Chosen Survivors and Strange Homecoming. This movie was filmed in Mexico. Ole.
Yeah, Ole. Mexico City.
Hecho and Mexico.
Yeah, at the Churubusco Studios, which was also the company behind this, another company behind this movie that we see at the beginning of the credits. Mm-hmm. And Churubusco Studios was later the filming location for the 1984 Dune, not the new one, but the 1984 David Lynch Dune, and Total Recall, once again, the original Total Recall, 1990.
Oh, yeah. So many productions have shot in Mexico just to save money, Yeah. Big studios down there, yeah.
If you can survive the smog in Mexico City, apparently the smog is really bad, no joke.
The salsa very good, the smog and not so good.
Yeah.
So we've got some Mexican money, some dinero, in this film, right? Joint American-Mexican.
Yeah, it's an American-Mexico joint production, an Amigo production.
Yeah, Amigo Pictures presents.
Why didn't they call that Amigo Productions? Yes.
And who is the director of this fine film, Jordan?
Apparently, Sutton Raleigh, who later directed episodes. Sutton Raleigh.
What was that name again? No, who directed this movie?
Sutton Raleigh, Sutton Raleigh. I'm going to start singing Bohemian Rhapsody now. Sutton Raleigh, Sutton Raleigh.
I'm asking for a director of a film, Jordan.
Oh, yes.
Kidding. Go on.
Was there a director? Yes, in fact, there was, Anthony. A man named Sutton Raleigh, who also later directed a few episodes of Airwolf, also starring Alex Cord, who also stars in this movie in the lead.
Yeah.
He's got a great mustache in this movie.
So, yes, Sutton Raleigh, he did a lot of TV. You name a show in the 70s or 80s even, he's directed some episodes of it. So he is a stalwart TV director for sure.
So that's interesting. I didn't do my research on him. So he ended up more in TV, I guess, than after this. Or
he had around
that's where his
time,
bread and butter was, I guess. Yes.
Yes. In the early 70s, he made a few films, one of which was The Loners, which is a biker film starring Dean Stockwell, which is not very good. And he had seems like he tried his hand at film and then found himself, to be generous, more comfortable in television, Jordan, if you know what I mean.
He liked the pace of television. Okay.
or maybe Hollywood liked him in television. I don't know. But so, and the director of photography here is Gabriel Torres. And I think we'll talk about the cinematography a little bit later. Fred Karlin did the music. He
also did the music for Westworld, which came out the year previous, actually.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. You use an electronic score here, but it's early electronic score once again, just like Westworld was. And it sounds like Westworld music, honestly. It reminds me of Westworld music again.
Good brooding sci-fi score here. I like the score, I have to say.
Heavy keyboard symphonic, yeah.
And so anyway, we'll hear some of that maybe a little bit later. And how does this film begin, Jordan?
It begins, we're flying over a desert in probably in Mexico. I think they say that in the movie, even it is Mexico. But yeah, we're flying, and we this military helicopter lands and escorts these people out, these civilians who we have not met yet, out of the helicopter into this elevator. Basically, this elevator is out in the middle of nowhere. And this elevator, they get on this elevator.
Well, some would say they're escorted. Others would say they're forcibly grabbed and thrown person to person.
They are kind of shuffled out of the helicopter. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably being nice.
Do they look like they've paid a passage on this helicopter? This is a tour, Jordan? Are they having a good time?
No, they don't exactly get off the helicopter like they just landed in Jurassic Park and, they're guests. No, not at all. Still, no, not the same thing. They do kind of look like they're being shuffled. Just, come on, let's get you moving into this elevator here. Come on, kid. Yeah. And it's all these different, disparate people, from different walks of life.
Yeah, we'll meet them a little later.
But yeah, they're all shoved into this elevator, this giant elevator, and then this elevator goes deep into the fucking ground.
Deep into the earth. And then we see the titles, Chosen Survivors, in plexiglass blocks.
I thought that was resin, maybe.
Superimposed, or resin, sorry. You're probably right.
They had just discovered resin in the 70s, and so they poured them into titles. No, I just made that part up.
Well, clearly it resonated with me.
It clearly resonated. You're right. Maybe it is plexiglass cut, though. It's got to be one of the two, right? I mean, it's either plexiglass or resin.
It's not animated titles. You know what I mean?
It looked like my wife's resin letters, though.
Yeah.
Kinda. It did.
And so anyway, the elevator goes deep in the earth. And so far, Jordan, this is very intriguing. So far, so good. I'm like, this is weird. Slow motion, weird.
It's scary. It's like a bad dream, right?
Yeah. Casual, looped in groaning, like,
Oh, because the elevator goes so deep at one point, it starts to lose control and everything becomes slow motion and even the audio becomes slower and everybody's just, it's kind of, yeah.
And it's kind of like, trip to the dentist.
Yeah, sorry.
The elevator's rocking and then it stops.
They're rocking back and forth. Yeah, it stops.
Somebody is rocking this elevator. Yeah, and then they stumble out into what? What do they see?
Into this, my God, it's just this sterile, shiny, whitey, just polished, sterile room, corridor.
Stainless steel.
And yeah. And plexiglass, maybe. Once again,
they got a deal on plexiglass.
But also, yeah, in the movie within the movie, the story within the movie, maybe the government had a cheap deal on plexiglass back then. Yeah.
Or maybe the Mexican production had a cheap deal on plexiglass. I don't know.
There was a lot of plexiglass there to use at Churubusco Studios on hand. They got some deal. Yeah. No, I'm just making that up. I don't know.
So this is pretty. So they're in this futuristic looking room with like seats and everything is metal and there's buttons everywhere. It's all computery, right?
It kind of looks like if George Lucas had money to make THX 1138 and build sets. That's what it would have looked like, probably, right? Like just like this set because it's very sterile. Anyway, yeah.
It's like a control room and there's big screens everywhere, right?
Yeah, there's big screens. It kind of looks like. It almost reminds me of what they later did in Walking Dead. I almost wonder if Walking Dead saw this. Because, remember season 1 where they found that the inside of the, what was it?
Where the lab where the virus is
where the lab was, and all that. Anyway, but the video comes on with this woman who was apparently a very famous LA newscaster at the time. And she's telling them what's going to happen. You know, you've all made it to this base. Congratulations. You've all been handpicked before the world's about to fucking end, basically.
It's really interesting. So, wow, they've been and the lady you see giving, and this is all pre-recorded. She's like, this is a pre-recorded message. It's Mary Louise Borden is her name. Hi, I'm Mary Louise Borden. So, welcome to this bunker. And she's played by Kelly Lang, who is married to William Friedkin, who we talked about.
That's right.
Earlier.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, from I saw that too when I looked her up. From she was married to him for 3 years, I guess, in the late 80s to the 1985 to 1990 or something like that. Anyway,
William Friedkin was married to half of Hollywood at one point or another. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So
William Friedkin just rolled over just now. Great.
Rest his soul. So on behalf of the government of the United States, all of these people have been invited here for the continuation of the human race.
They've all been cordially invited, yes.
And they were invited because there was a thermonuclear war, right? And they've been selected to as chosen survivors. Now we have a title.
Right.
We have a title.
It's almost weird. This is almost like the plot for Moonraker later on.
A little bit.
Where he's got all these people handpicked.
In reverse.
Yeah. Anyway, so they've all been handpicked, and they're all picked for their brains, their brawn, whatnot.
Yeah. Special knowledge, sex, age, physical superiority.
Yeah.
And so it's an 18,000 square foot facility. There's 12 others like this, 168 other people. And there's enough supplies for 5 years of survival. And when the radiation levels drop, then automatically you'll be let out.
Yeah. Serious stuff, man.
It's kind of like, whoa, I'm liking this movie. This is an interesting concept.
In the beginning, right? It's like a Twilight Zone episode in the beginning. I mean, so far, kind of. It's like a really well-made cinematic Twilight Zone movie.
And it feels like a very 70s movie, right? You're like, just that whole...
It's got the environmental aspect,
Environmental aspect. Just the gravity, character study, I'm interested to see where this movie's going. And then, Jordan, who shows up? The great one.
Oh, Richard Jekyll starts just coming down the corridor magically, like in a shadow. Like, for some reason, we think his character is going to be important.
Yeah.
And then, they're like, who is this guy?
Who's this dude?
Richard Jekyll, great actor. Yeah, and he's walking down the corridor in a shadow.
Okay, what else has Richard Jekyll done?
He did another...
Was he in Day of the Jekyll?
He was in Day of the Jackal.
Was he in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
Yes, he was also in this Jaws ripoff that's really great. Mako, The Jaws of Death.
Yeah.
And he was also in a movie called Green Slime from 1969. Hardworking actor.
A working character actor who is in many.
I think he was great, though. He really was, used well in the movie Starman, in the John Carpenter movie Starman. That was where he really, I thought, like they used him solidly as an actor. Like he wasn't in some schlocky movie. Of course, I'm sure when he was doing Starman, he probably in his mind was like, this is probably some stupid schlocky movie with Jeff Bridges that I'm in.
Yeah, he's kind of like, he's just been in everything.
But he's got an everyman quality, Richard Jekyll. Good actor, though.
He kind of reminds me of a poor man's Burt Lancaster. You know what I mean?
You know what I think? I honestly think...
and I don't mean that as a slam. He's like a good actor, I
think like the roles that Ronnie Cox passed on in the 70s went to Richard Jekyll.
Richard Jekyll's like, I'll take it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
Ronnie Cox, after Deliverance, maybe being offered this kind of stuff. They were like, Ronnie Cox, you just did Deliverance. Please do this movie, Chosen Survivors. No, I won't do it. But I know my buddy Richard Jekyll probably will.
Yeah, exactly. So I just picture these character actors passing roles to one another.
Yeah. Or maybe if Doug McClure passed it on to Richard Jekyll would be asked next,
Yeah, I can't. I'm a little busy right now, but have you tried Richard Jekyll? I think he'll do it.
Richard Jekyll. Yeah, Richard Jekyll, buddy. Richard Jekyll, though, he seemed like one of those actors that was bi-coastal.
Whoa, what are you saying about him, Jordan?
No, I think he worked on the West Coast, and then
I don't care where he works.
He's working on movies overseas.
Man can choose to work overseas, underseas. I don't care, man.
It's Richard Jekyll.
However he chooses to identify West Coast, East Coast, doesn't matter to me. So. And he's like, wow, he's Major Gordon Ellis. And he's like, I never thought this would happen. I just come here to like fix all this stuff and make sure it's running every once in a while. And then,
And gosh, what do you know? A nuclear war happens. Jeez.
And there's some other dude who's like, I got B shift. We traded shifts this week. I wish I hadn't.
Yeah. The other caretaker, we switch out 3 months a year.
The other guy had a birthday, and I said, all right, I'll take this week. Why not? And then, wouldn't you know?
Also, I saw in the credits when I looked this up on IMDb, and mind you, folks out there in the audience, there's hardly good luck looking up any information on this movie. This movie is so old now. This movie is now 50 years old, and literally, because you can't find anything on it on the internet.
Mm-hmm. So they're 1,758 feet underground in New Mexico. And the surface world has just become nothing but stock footage of molten lava, Jordan, and volcanoes.
Yeah.
And surface temperature of 214 degrees. And the Major's showing them bad rotoscoped images of the Golden Gate Bridge being destroyed or in ruins.
So far, it just looks like a Disneyland ride, right? It's just like you walk into a room. Or Universal Studios, maybe. I don't know.
You waited for an hour and a half, and now you want your money back. So anyway.
Welcome to the Universal Studios attraction, Chosen Survivors. You get to be the survivor of nuclear holocaust in this one room. And then you're just showing all this bad stock footage. It's not even 3D.
But Richard Jekyll does actually come out and say, hey, everybody.
Yeah. But Richard Jekyll is there as a cameo.
And so anyway, we meet our cast in this condescending narration bio blurb about each one from Peter McComber, right?
Yeah.
Who is, I guess he's one of the folks, and he's supposed to be some sort of, I don't know, scientist. They're all scientists or something. Played by Bradford Dillman. I think. Yeah, Bradford Dillman, another guy.
Yeah, he's a great, underrated actor from that time period still. I think he was a great actor. I really do. I loved him in Escape from the Planet of the Apes. I loved him in the movie Guyana, Cult of the Damned.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in all this movie, the great thing about Bradford Dillman just has a reality about him, though. Like a reality that he sells.
He's a real actor.
Oh, I was going to say, where is this survivor that is credited in the credits, but we barely see him? I think we kind of get a glimpse of him, but I think I confused him for Bradford Dillman. What the fuck? Maybe he was completely cut out of the movie, But in the credits in IMDb, when you look up this movie, you see uncredited survivor played by this guy. I forgot this name. I should have mentioned him, but
Conrad Hool.
Thank you. That's the name. Yeah, that's him. Yes, I saw that.
So maybe it's a situation where he's like, what are we doing here, guys? And then like he would just have a line of, oh my God, watch out, everybody. And, but he's like watching this movie. He's sitting there with his wife. It's opening screening. And he's just like, oh, you're going to love this movie, honey. They just cut him out of the movie. And, he's like, what? They cut out every scene I was in. I was in half the movie here.
I was supposed to die when we came into the corridor. They were supposed to kill me off there at the beginning, and I wouldn't even. What the fuck, man? I was supposed to die at the beginning of this movie. What the fuck?
Let's just call that a Conrad Hool from now on. Like when you get cut out of the movie. Anyway, Conrad Hool.
I love that. Yeah, it's a great term. A Conrad Hool.
He got Conrad Hooled.
It's like Alan Smithy, but no, it's weird. He got Conrad Hooled. Yeah.
I swear I was in this movie, everybody. I swear. So anyway, I swear. Maybe he was like on when they were leaving the helicopter and in the elevator. Maybe he was there, and then they were just like, you know what? We don't need this guy.
Maybe he didn't. That's what I'm saying. He didn't make it past the elevator. Essentially, you nailed it for me right there. Maybe he was in the elevator and he died in the elevator ride. Down.
So Peter McComber is introducing everybody but Conrad Hool. And so we have Ray Cousins, who is a corporation genius, whatever that is, played by Jackie Cooper. And who is Jackie Cooper? We've actually talked about him before.
Well, he was a child actor, but you and I know him from, probably from everybody else probably knows him as Perry White from the Christopher Reeve Superman series,
Yeah.
I mean, come on. No, a great actor, though. I mean, says things with sincerity, but man, I'll have to get into talking about his character in this movie here more so later on.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see Perry White doing shit like this in a movie. I'm a little traumatized. I'm seeking out therapy right now, even.
You and Conrad Hool. Conrad Hool can give you his therapist number. Anyway, so so he did, Academy Award nominated for a movie called Skippy I've Never Seen when he was a kid. And he was also in the Our Gang series, which later became the Little Rascals, or was it before? I don't know.
I forgot about that. Yeah, we always forget about that. Yeah,
and then he was in the Christopher Reeve Superman movies.
Yeah. Superman movies came after this movie, even though the first one was in the 70s. Yeah, it came about 4 years after this movie.
Yeah. And then we get Dr. Lenora Chrisman, Nobel Prize-winning medical researcher, played by Barbara Babcock, another massive talent, Emmy Award-winning actress for Hill Street Blues.
Oh, that's right. That's where I know her from. Thank you.
Yes. Then we have Luis Cabral, who's an oceanographer, and he's played by Pedro Armendáriz Jr., Mexican actor with a...
Pedro Armendáriz Jr. Why do I know that name for some reason?
Oh, man. I know you're a student of Mexican film. He's been in a lot of things.
I wonder, if he was that's what it must have been. He came from it being a Mexican-American joint production, co-production maybe. That's what it was.
He was in Once Upon a Time in Mexico. He was in Earthquake.
Oh, that's right. He was in Earthquake. I forgot about that.
Yeah. He was. I mean, he's been in a bunch of American movies.
Big actor in the 70s there.
It's like when you couldn't get Ricardo Montalban, you got Pedro Armendáriz Jr. Pedro
Armendáriz Jr. I'm about to say Pedro Almendovar. No, that's the director. No, I'm confusing their names now.
Yeah, then Stephen Mays is a novelist played by Alex Cord. You mentioned him. He's
Alex Cord. Yeah, man, big actor. He was in Airwolf later on, but he was also in a lot of 70s movies, including Grey Eagle, directed by Charles B. Pierce. He was in a movie called McCord. This was one of those movies made over in Italy. It was a spaghetti western.
So Cord was in McCord? It's
Alex McCord in McCord. Yes, no joke. And he lived till 2021. I saw an interview with him the other day, I found, and he was drinking whiskey on the rocks, I could tell. In the podcast interview. And I thought that was fucking cool because in your early 80s, still drinking whiskey on the rocks, my God, you're a rock star in my opinion.
Something to aspire to.
Yeah. That's what I aspire to. He died in Valley View, Texas.
Mm-hmm. That old comedian Mark Maron would play him in the remake of this movie, I think.
That'd be great. I'd love that. I'll take it. Thank you.
And then there's Alana Fitzgerald. She's a congressperson played by Diana Muldaur, who played Dr. Pulaski for one season, notably, in Star Trek The Next Generation on TV.
Yeah, when they sadly just like kicked Gates McFadden for a minute. They were like, you know what? Get out of here. We'll get some other woman in here, stately woman.
You can be replaced over here, and
you can be replaced over here at Paramount. And then they realized they needed her.
You want your own dressing room? Well, I'll tell you what, who doesn't want her own dressing room? Diana Muldaur.
Diana Muldaur is not asking for the world. No. Okay. No. Call her. Get the Rolodex.
So she's just a good actress and been in a ton of stuff. But
definitely,
notably,
Diana Muldaur, great actress.
She starred with Burt Reynolds several times, including in the third season episode of The FBI when Burt was played one of the criminals from 1968. Why is that important, Jordan? Why do I bring that up?
Was that the same episode in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where that Rick Dalton was in?
Yeah, maybe.
Is that why? She was in that episode. That is interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, listen to that episode, folks, for that little tidbit. And then Woody Russo, Olympic gold medal winner. And he's still wearing like a jumpsuit that says USA on it. Like this is how he just walks around all the time.
Yeah. That's how he's escorted into the elevator, even not escorted, but thrown into the elevator, tossed into the elevator.
And then he's just giving like very dismissively this description of whose past is a constant struggle for identity. Like, what the hell does that mean? And how does he know that? I don't know. It's just such a weird thing.
Yeah. He's trying to find himself after he got the gold medal. What the fuck, man? What the fuck?
What the fuck does that even mean? Come on, man. Anyway,
if he at least had some ailment, I would buy it, but no. Yeah.
But it's just a weird thing because everyone else is like, so-and-so's a doctor. And then Woody Russo, whose past is a constant struggle for identity. Like, what is this? Like, we're reading the novelization here. That line made it from the book. I don't know. He's played by Lincoln Kilpatrick, who we have also spoken about before, who was in...
Oh, shit. Which movie? Was it... Oh,
he played the priest in a movie.
Oh, Soylent Green.
Soylent Green.
That's right. He was the priest in Soylent Green. My dumb ass forgot him. Shit.
And he was also
great actor.
A movie called Master Gunfighter with Tom Laughlin, who was Billy Jack, and Ron
and
O'Neill.
Jim Brown.
Ron O'Neill.
And Ron O'Neill. That's right.
Which we might talk about someday. It's just too weird not to talk about. Anyway,
I heard that.
Carrie Draper is an ecology expert. She's played by Gwen Mitchell, who was in Shaft. And then Claire Faraday's a biologist. Nancy Rodman. Christine Lerner's a nutritionist, played by Krista Moreno. She's the cute girl who is already starting to freak out. I mean, just barely got off the elevator and already causing problems. So, Jordan, if I had money, I'd put a few pesos on the fact that she's going to die pretty soon.
She's like that crazy girl in a women in prison movie that's just always like, no, you're all gonna die. Just like, she's kind of like, she's the resident. She's also like the crazy person in an airplane movie or an airport movie that is just completely freaked out by everything and just can't be settled down.
So that's our crew. That's our cast. And everyone's stuck in this bunker underneath ground. And then Cousins... The corporate dude, he's like trying to bribe the major for a way out. And then the major's like, there isn't a way out. We're stuck down here.
We're in a disaster movie again, basically, scenario. We've got a bunch of different characters played by a bunch of different actors. And then, they've all got their own stories. They've all got their own philosophies. Here we go again. It's just like Airport all over again. It's just like Towering Inferno all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the major's like, haven't you seen one of these movies? Haven't you read the script? We are stuck down here, man. And so they have birds and fish and other things down there. And then the birds start freaking out, right? And then in the morning, what do they find, Jordan?
Oh, the birds are all bloodied up and dead from something. Maybe
something, I don't know, something
unknown,
unknown.
I'm intrigued at this point. Still, I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on now? What?
We're at a third of the movie in. I'm like, okay, let's see where they're going with this. And then, of course, Christine freaks out, and then the power goes off. And I like this. Something's wrong with the power. It goes off intermittently, and you get these emergency lights that keep coming on.
These emergency blue lights, for some reason, not red lights. I don't know why they use blue gels in this scene. I'm just saying. I'm sorry. I'm criticizing the movie here a little bit. I mean,
oh my goodness.
Shouldn't an emergency light be red? Maybe. I'm just saying.
Well, it is Mexico. I don't know. Maybe we're out of red gels. I'm sorry, senor. We just have the blue ones. Like, all right, good enough. Good enough.
The people that made the red gels had a strike that week.
Yeah, it happens. And so Christine's freaking out, and the emergency power goes off, or the power goes off, emergency power. And then Carrie starts screaming, and they run to her, and they see what, Jordan? What do they see in her room?
A bat. A vampire bat.
Dun, dun, dun.
And apparently this is our movie because we had a bat on the poster. Also, a bat shape.
There was a bat poster. Yep.
I looked up the poster. The poster's classic. I love it. I got to own it. Of course, amongst all my other 70s posters. But.
Then we get our explanation of why the bat's in here. Didn't come down the elevator, right? And they're all like, how did a bat get in here?
Yeah, maybe they just got in there somehow. Maybe we should check the vents and everything. Check every vent, check every bookshelf.
Yeah, maybe they came in on something. You know what I mean? But because we're down in the middle of the earth here, or we're down deep. I mean, there should be no way for them to access this. And then we get the explanation. Well, the government built the shelter in a cave. Bats live in caves. Stop asking questions.
End of
Seems
story.
Plausible.
End of movie.
End of story. No further explanation needed. Jordan, that is freaking ludicrous. Okay, they're 1,700 and whatever feet below the surface.
They're close to like the mantle of the earth.
They're
the
deep.
mantle, which is close to the core.
This is ludicrous. This could never happen.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Anthony.
Hey, Facts Guy.
Hey, Facts Guy. How you doing? Glad you're here to explain things.
Bats have been known to live hundreds and hundreds of feet from the mouths of caves. And the film tells us that, there's no blood on the surface. They find their way back in deeper into the earth. They probably smell them. They probably, the workers were down there making lots of noise. If you had been paying attention, they explained this perfectly.
But they said 1,600 feet. I mean, that's a ways down, don't you think, Facts Guy?
Hey, bats fly hundreds. They can fly 100 miles in a night if they want to. It's nothing for a bat to fly 1,700 feet, Jordan.
Oh, come on, man. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't believe it as the audience still, Facts Guy. I'm sorry. That's
It's
also,
airtight logic, and I want everyone to check out my new podcast. Here's where you're wrong, and just where I debunk things, and I tell people how maybe they hadn't thought about something, and how they're wrong about something. So listen and subscribe.
Man,
thanks, Facts Guy.
Thank you, Facts Guy. Thank you, Facts Guy.
Facts Guy, vampire bats don't live in New Mexico where this takes place.
Mexico, not New Mexico, Mexico.
No, it takes place in New Mexico, Jordan. This is the U.S. government.
Oh, that's right. It is set in New Mexico. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Shot in Mexico, but set in New Mexico desert in this movie. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, they live in South America, whatever. But Jordan, if vampire bats were around in New Mexico, don't you think we would know about it? Don't you think they would be killing people? Don't you think? I mean, do you know what I mean? Or animals or something?
Before this government installation decided to be built, and they actually dug and poured concrete in that fucking ground and all that.
Yeah, it's not like they brought.
But of course, the government does bad business, so of course they would never plan ahead.
Jordan, it's the government. The government brought these bats here. Okay.
Yeah.
These bats are coming over the border, Jordan. I told you. I've been telling you for years. This kind of thing was going to happen.
These bats have been bred by the government. I think you might be right. I think you're right. They're already here in Colorado.
No, Jordan, that would make an interesting movie. that would make an interesting plot twist.
I like this movie. Tell me more, Anthony. Oh, wait, we're talking about this movie. Sorry, we don't have time.
We're talking about Chosen Survivors.
Chosen Survivors, 1974. Back to Chosen Survivors.
So we could ponder the ramifications of being like locked below, the surface of the earth with strangers in this government constructed, fallout shelter. We could explore the effects on people and their relationships. But no, everyone's talking about bats now. Okay.
You saying this reminded me of one fun fact that I looked up that I found on this movie.
Oh, this better be a fun fact, Jordan.
Apparently, when they started shooting this movie with the script that they had, there were no bats. This was like added at the last minute, apparently.
Oh, really?
How fucked up it? Yeah. And it kind of shows, doesn't it? It kind of feels tacked on.
Well, yeah, now that we know that the original...
It just makes you wonder who the guy in the room was when, I'm the money guy. And I say we need bats in this movie or this doesn't work. Yeah. Okay.
There's some producer who's just like, every time you bring him a movie, it's like, can we put some bats in this? Yeah. It's like When Harry Met Sally, but with bats. Can we put some bats in here? Can he be a bat expert?
It's funny you say that. I just picture a John Peters type producer and somebody saying off the side, yeah, he just has a thing about bats. That's all he just wants to have in every movie he makes. Doesn't have anything to do with anything, never, usually.
His out-of-work brother has a bat farm and tries to help him out.
A bat farm in Mexico. He's got to make money.
So anyway, let's get back to that.
Sorry,
The details of this movie are very interesting.
Yeah. On with the plot. I'm sorry.
So they all freak out and they're trying to figure out how these bats got in. And so they're scouring the facility.
There's a whole montage.
Yeah. And then, like, one of the bats sneak into Christine's room and attack her in her sleep. Then Richard Jekyll, at his Jakeliest, runs into a room and
I like that.
And he starts hitting these bats with a pillow. He's killing bats with a pillow.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is the first time in movie history the monster has ever been killed by someone hitting them with a pillow. It's ridiculous.
I hope Richard Jekyll argued with the director on this scene. Was like, why am I killing him with a just fucking pillow? I mean, can I have a gun or something or a whip even? Fuck, jeez.
Yeah. I'm a major in the Air Force, in the military.
Don't I have any weapons on me? Exactly, yeah.
Can I punch them or just, what if I grab a lamp?
Survival of the pillowist.
The writer's like, it's got to be a pillow. I'm sorry, that's how it's written. Just, do it how it's written.
That's man's inhumanity against man. It's get the way it's written, okay, Mr. Jekyll?
And the director's like, look, this is gospel. This is a fantastic script. Use the pillow, goddammit. Anyway, So Cousins says this is a setup and the major knows why. Then Jekyll goes into acting overload. And I really do like this scene where he's just like, you know what? Everybody's dead. Get off my fucking back about everything.
I love that, yeah. It's me and you, he says. And 9 other people. And that's what I'm concerned about. He has a great argument, too. Yeah, he makes a perfect argument.
Yeah. He's like, we need to survive and not go crazy. How about that? Why don't you try that once you get off my back for a minute? It's been a day. It's been like one day.
Yeah. I can't even argue with my wife that perfectly. That's just so perfect.
We just all need to memorize that scene. Find your inner Jekyll when you're arguing.
If you have a problem with a customer, a client, whatever, you use that Richard Jekyll scene and shows it survivors. It's just me and you here now. And these 9 people. You understand? Get off my back and stay off my back. And he quotes the pitch guy. I'm going to need you to climb off me all the fucking way.
So anyway, he rigs up an alarm to see if they can be warned of the bats.
Yeah. He invents the cowbell method for them.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. A little tripwire for the bats to trigger.
Yeah.
And then Stephen Mays, the novelist, is hooking up already with the Congresswoman. Like, this guy, these two, like, what is up, man? It's been a day.
What do you mean? I thought they were already together, Anthony. Geez, have you seen the way they're, like, together? They're even sleeping in the same corridor, in the same bed.
I know. I noticed them in the lunchroom, and I think they're kind of, maybe they're getting it on. I don't know. We've only been down here 12 hours.
All I can do is gossip about the other people. That's what I'd be doing if I was living in this place. You imagine all these scenarios, Like, would I react like that? I'd be getting drunk as fuck also during this scenario. Anyway.
Well, funny you mention that because then Cousins gets drunk and just like your grandpa after several drinks gets a little racist and starts telling people about themselves.
Hey, don't bring up my grandpa on this podcast.
No, sorry.
Sorry.
Sore spot.
Oh, you meant the audience, Grandpa. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Just like your racist grandpa out there. Yes.
Anyways, and then he just yells at everybody, then goes into Dr. Chrisman's room.
Yeah.
And what happens, Jordan?
This is after, too, they pass each other in the corridor, and he's got a bottle. Like, how did he get that in there? And she says, what is that you got on him? Which I'm thinking, like, did they already have liquor down there, or did he have it on him? Now I'm confused. Anyway.
Oh, I think they had it down there. 5 years? Come on. He found the liquor cabinet.
Please, you wouldn't leave people without the alcohol there, I'm hoping.
If I was designing a bunker, it'd be 18,000 square feet, and about 17,000 square feet would just be alcohol, Jordan, because it got 5 years underground.
Exactly. And hopefully marijuana stored in the tin cans. Yes. But yeah, him and the doctor, well, he just walks into her room, and then he tries to force himself on her. And it's really uncomfortable to watch Perry White trying to rape this chick.
Yeah, I mean, and guys, this is the 70s for folks who are upset by that.
Let me say that again. It's very uncomfortable watching Perry White try to rape this woman in the scene. Geez, it's uncomfortable. Oh my God. Anyway, and then she gives into it. That's what's weird.
I know. It's like Straw Dogs or something. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, that is, what are they trying to tell us here?
I think this movie did it for shock value. It was that 70s, one of those things that is on the poster that they promise shock value this movie. And I think, it's gratuitous in this movie, this rape scene though.
It's pointless.
It's ugly and pointless. You're right.
It sets his character up as an asshole, which we already knew.
Yeah. I hated him after that from the get-go. And it's almost like they're trying to make him like the guy that asks questions, which pissed me off later on.
He's the, hey, what's going on around here guy? That's him. That's him in this movie.
Yeah, why'd they have to make the rapist the what's going on here guy? Jesus Christ. Why'd they have to make up the same person in this? Damn you, screenwriters.
Why do they have to have the rape? But then the worst part, she gives in. And then I don't know what to think about her character. Because she's like, why not? And then it's like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then it reminds you it's written by a man. That was a man's choice, Because she gives into it, of course,
Yeah. It's very aggressive and weird. And then, so anyway, the major makes his alarm moving along. And, so he's like, okay, now we can find out when the bats are coming. So everything's great, right? So they've got a plan. They're going to have this alarm when the bats come. But Cousins is still drunk and wandering around. And he finds the control room and starts pushing buttons randomly.
Yeah, he does. Jeez, this is another thing.
Like, he just raped somebody 2 minutes ago, and then now he's pushing buttons. Like, he is just like, what is his deal? He's so annoying.
Yeah. Only in the 70s would this happen, in a 70s movie, where all this would happen, like you just said, in that order. He just tried to rape somebody. Now he's pushing buttons that he shouldn't be pushing.
I mean, his clothes aren't even messed up. His hair's not even messed up. He's just right back into action, causing trouble. And so anyway, he starts pushing buttons and he shorts something out and things explode. And then this tube that's in the control room breaks and the lights go out. And what happens?
The lights go out and then slowly the bats get in. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
the bats slowly creep in.
There's this plexiglass chute because it's brought to you by Plexiglasco.
Yeah, and they're freed into that plexiglass looking chute that looks futuristic. That's supposed to do something, I guess. And yeah, they blow out that because they all flood the area because they find a way in somehow. There's some kind of leak that this a-hole has caused, basically. Yeah, so they flood it and it kills Armendariz in the process, his character.
Well, yeah. So the bats come in and then I don't get his logic. So Luis comes up and he's like, what's going on? And he's like, leave me alone. Like, what's going on? Leave me alone. And he just runs he just runs down the hall by himself. I wouldn't do that.
Let me be a martyr for no reason.
Then the bats attack him. So, and Cousins is watching this as he's just being killed by bats, not even helping. So what do you think about his death scene?
It's it's like every death scene in this movie. It's really stupid.
What's stupid about it?
It's
other than the fact that he's a different color from the bats.
Just like everybody else, he throws himself into the horror of the situation instead of just shrieking in the corner like anybody would normally in real life. You know, be like, oh my God, I can't go. I don't want to do it, man.
Or run. Why do you stand there and let bats attack you? You know, if anyone who's ever been attacked by bees, like, what do? You run, right? I mean, you don't just sit there and like, well, I guess these bees are going to attack me.
If you see a snake, run. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you see an agent, you run. No, I'm sorry, wrong movie. Not The Matrix. But yeah, this is crazy. And it's the first death that we see, I think, isn't it? This poor guy.
Yeah. And he dies dragging his, I don't see any glass, but he's dragging his bloody fingers over some glass, which it just looks like he's doing that in the air. He's a different color than the blue film behind him.
Yeah.
And then the bats just leave, right?
Oh, because he's sealed. Yeah, he's sealed off in that area. That's why he gets
Is he, though? I don't know what's going on.
Oh, you mean because he just lays there and like, oh God, he doesn't try to shoo them off or run out of another direction or anything.
Yeah, but he's the bloody handprints on the glass, I guess. It's real weird. He's a, different day.
So the movie can happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, yeah, the movie happens and the bats just go away. They just leave. They're done. Yeah. They're full, I guess. They just leave. They don't attack the others. And then I guess the lights come on. I don't know.
Lights are back on. Bats are gone. Lights are on. Yeah.
Yeah. So all the superimposed bats are gone. and then
by Frank Vanderveer opticals.
Then
they're no longer around. I'm not like advertising them.
No, let's not. These are bargain bin opticals for sure.
Hey, by the way, folks, if you need an optical done for your movie, Frank Vanderveer. Oh wait, they're closed. Never mind.
We work cheap.
Cheap effects house, cheap optical house. I know because I'm an effects fan, and Frank Vanderveer worked on everything. That was a big effects house in LA. They were always there to like finish it for you quickly.
Mm-hmm. Before or after this movie?
And to add lasers or bats or color or anything. Yeah, they were like, they did all that stuff, whether it was color correcting or, yeah, I mean.
So this movie's on their reel? Like, this is what we can do.
They worked on Logan's Run later on, another podcast we talked about.
Lordy. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then Peter McComber, who's been documenting all this on his tape recorder.
Oh, yes. Bradford Dillman.
Is conflicted. Somebody has died. Like, this has gone too far. Then what happens?
Oh,
WTF, Jordan, like, what the hell happens? The movie changes completely.
Where are we at the movie? Is this where we find the girl's body dead or no?
No, we're at the point where we find out that there was no apocalypse.
Oh,
this has just been an experiment.
Where he says, Bradford Dillman's character, says, I will have everybody in the next room to talk. Please. I will explain everything that has happened until now in the plot. That's what you're talking about?
It's like a murder mystery. Everybody, take your drinks into the study.
Yeah. I'm going to explain who done it. Agatha Christie's chosen survivors. And yeah, Bradford Dillman is really good. He's like, but yeah, you as the audience are just kind of like the people in the movie. You're like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? And you didn't see the bats coming either. Okay. Because then Perry White is saying, what about the bats? What about, I knew it. I told everybody, what about the bats? And yeah, you're like, what about the bats? Did you plan? Yeah. Where was that in the plot you're explaining here?
Yeah, and I hated that.
And he says, we didn't know about that.
We didn't know about the bats.
We didn't know that was unplanned for.
The bats were just a red herring. Sorry, it's a clue joke.
It was unplanned for something. He gives a vague explanation. Yeah, it's not enough of a sentence.
No. So he's like, if there had been a war, they needed to know if the facility, this plan would work, this whole bunker situation would work. Would people get along together? Or would they kill each other on the first day when bats attack? Like, what just happened?
But, okay, here's the red flag here as far as us, the viewer, right? Is like, when we saw them brought to this place, how the fuck were they plucked out of where they came from?
I was wondering that too. That was a huge suspension of disbelief. Like, they should have had like a scene where everyone's like in a lab where they're like mixing stuff and then military guys just grab them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Were they all like chloroformed? Like they put shit in a napkin, the way you said everything from the movie back then, and taken from their natural and kidnapped from their natural environment.
Their natural environment, like a little dart comes like and like a tranquilizer dart hits them.
Yeah. Can we see that part of the movie where the Olympian was shot with a dart? Or like, yes.
Is this Hatari here? And like a big game hunter comes up and grabs him?
That Olympian guy's big. How the hell did they chloroform him or shoot him with a dart to get him there on the helicopter? How did they force these people into this situation? That's all I'm saying. That's the fucked up part of this, like when he's saying all this. You know, we didn't see all that. We didn't see that, though.
Yeah, the writers at a Barnes & Noble citing some copies of his book, and then these military guys throw a bag over him and just drag him out. Like, well, yeah, you're right. There's a whole movie we missed out. Just like how they got these.
Can we see a montage of it at least? I mean,
some people are just kind of conned. It was like free pizza, and there was an arrow, and then like, hey, and you walk into a van.
Were all these people of prestigious backgrounds like conned into immortality or something even? I mean, like, you know, hey, come with me if you want to live forever.
Or just arrested, you know, I don't know, something. That's interesting too. I thought about that.
That's what I'm saying. And you know what? This is why I believe what I read recently about this movie, that fun fact that I mentioned earlier, which is that the bats were added at the last minute in the script. When they began this script, that means that when the actors like read the script originally, there were no fucking bats probably. You know, they were all like, wait, what the hell's going on here? So the actors in this scene are probably reacting because they're like, what the fuck script changes are going on now?
I told you this would happen. They put bats in the script. We're in a disaster movie now.
That's Alex Cord and Jackie Cooper's reaction in this moment.
That was very real. That was
that's what I mean. Yeah.
The director came up, Sutton Rowley's like, hey guys, we got some changes to the script. I'm going to hand out a few pages here.
Yeah. Also, was the dialogue here improvised or was that in the script? I wonder. Like, did Alex Cord? I hope he didn't improvise that dialogue. What do you mean? Oh my God, his life. Well, yeah, we're human, dude. Like, that's stating the obvious, isn't it? Like, that's what he says in the. What do you mean? That's all we got is life.
I mean, I really think that Bradford Dillman gives a really good performance here because he's conflicted. At one point he feels like sympathy. On the other hand, he's got to toe the government's line here, right?
I love his nervousness in the scene and how he's sweating. I love that, actually. He's great. Everybody's great in this scene. It's just the dialogue.
He develops a tick, and you can see like his brain is breaking down, but he still has to be like justifying to himself like why he did this and what's going on. Now someone's dead. You know, this is all fun and games.
Yeah, you can see him living with the consequences right there. Like, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
His performance is beautiful.
Yeah.
Everybody's reaction is good too. I like their reactions. You know?
And then so Dr. Chrisman is just like, I just slept with cousins for what? You know, she's like, she was getting raped and kind of gave in. And she's like, gross. Oh my God. And then, so Mays, the writer's like, the government has no right to deprive a man of his life and freedom. Right. And then Cousin's going to sue the Pentagon. And then McComer's like, well, we're just going to deny it. You know, how are you going to prove this? We're just going to hide the facility.
Yeah, I love how he says he's going to sue the government. Even back then, that's unreal. Like, nobody ever wins when they sue the fucking government.
Yeah.
That never works. No matter how much fucking money you have.
And it gets really preachy about government overreach and freedom. It's a very interesting scene, but it doesn't belong in a movie about vampire bats, Jordan. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
What this is some deep 70s post-Watergate government mistrust. Good old-fashioned 70s government mistrust. And it would be a good scene in the play. This would, without the bats, would make a very good play.
Oh, absolutely. I do feel like there's missed opportunities here.
Yeah.
Like what you're talking about. Because, I'm like thinking like, oh my God. Like I told you, like when I started viewing this movie first and told us to continue watching it for the podcast, I compared it to the movie Cube from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Cube was brilliant because it's a use of location. I call it, this is like the Hitchcock lifeboat scenario. Lifeboat meaning where you have a bunch of disparate people in a situation or desperate people in a situation thrown together, a bunch of different people from walks of life thrown into one location, one setting together basically. And then you have to, it's like a play. You have to make the most dramatic stuff out of that situation. Even when you're watching it in a movie here,
And then vampire bats attack. It's like, cue the vampire bats.
Then there's vampire bats. And also, like, wouldn't this movie may be a great double bill with another movie on our list of movies I told you we should watch called Nightwing from 1979?
Yes, I think so.
It's the same shit in Nightwing later on anyway.
If you can survive this movie, Nightwing might pick you up there.
Nightwing is way more straightforward by comparison. Nightwing doesn't pretend like it's something else and then flip the plot on you at least.
Yeah. But what this movie does is it creates a subgenre, the fake apocalypse movie. And I think there's some other movies that do this. But can you imagine if in Mad Max, like, all this shit's going down and then some dude, like, just walks over the hill and says, just kidding. There's a gas station right over here, everybody. This is just Burning Man. And everyone's like, what the fuck? We've been killing people. We've been killing each other. The Thunderdome? No, it's not real. No, that's just an old amusement park.
It's just Burning Man. Yeah, exactly. This is just Lollapalooza going on.
Lollapalooza. This isn't like the post-apocalypse.
It's just one big concert the whole time.
The fake apocalypse. But anyway, McComber, he's like, the stakes are like, we're really talking about the survival of the human race. Like, this could really fucking happen. So you guys are being selected here. And then the bats weren't part of the plan. At first I thought they were. I don't know what's going on here. You know what I mean? But then I realized
it's just a simulation. Yes, we didn't plan for the bats. Sorry. Even though we built it in this part of New Mexico and we like dug a hole in the ground. There were no bats when we dug this place out, honestly, never.
Yeah, not vampire bats. Like, hey, come on, man, Good enough for government work.
That's a funny thing, too, because I have a thing about bats. I love bats. And I've seen bats before, for real. In Austin, because they live under the bridge, on Congress Street, and they fly out. Everybody knows it there that lives there. They love it. They watch it a year when they migrate. It's beautiful to watch. And then I've seen bats fly from a hole in the ground in West Texas, like around Mason, Texas, like in West Texas. And that, I'm just saying, if there were bats there, you'd fucking know it, If you're going to dig a fucking hole in the ground and put a bunker in there, I'm like, anyway, this movie.
Actually, Jordan, bats don't...
Shut up, facts guy. Shut up.
Actually, this could have been from another cavern that just happened to creep into that area.
Maybe that could be. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, so he's like, look, we're just going to signal. I'm going to send a signal up to the military folks. They're going to come get us in 5 days, or they're going to come get us in 5 days after they don't receive a signal, one of the two, Anyway, I just want to pause and say, like we were talking about the music earlier being like really good horror music.
Yeah.
The cinematography is trying to be a lot of things. It's trying to be claustrophobic. It's trying to like create tension. There are like a lot of low angles, waist high shots, and then these extreme mucho close-ups, and then fisheye lenses, all these long hallway shots. They've got the camera in like two different positions, Jordan, what do you think about the cinematography? Does it work? Does it create this sense of like claustrophobia or?
Yes and no. I feel like they're kind of showing off their sets a bit here. Part of it. That's why they have all these wide shots, And I get it. They have all these people to focus on, so they have to have wide shots, but I don't know. Well, yeah, there should be. I don't know. No, but yeah, that is kind of missing, I think. I think that's what is missing is what you're talking about, the claustrophobia of the situation. Yeah. Why are these people not more? Yeah, I mean, if they're going to be that uptight, it should be more claustrophobic.
Yeah, they're tight shots, but they're not. I don't think the cinematography it's okay, but you can tell where they're very limited. They have like one room scene set, and then they have this hallway, and then they have the big set. There's like 3 sets that they're in. So anyway, they have a small set, and I don't think they use it very well. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on that. So anyway, Christine gets a hold of barbiturates, Jordan, and then what happens?
She overdoses?
Yeah, exactly.
And then she gets killed by vampire bats?
Well, yes, in a minute, but so she's unconscious in the clinic. But Jordan, I say barbiturates. I was like, give me them old-timey drugs, Jordan. These drugs today, I don't know what they do. Give me some old barbiturates and uppers and downers and acid and the good old-fashioned drugs, Jordan. Anyway, sorry. I'm trying to help, man. This movie's fucking weird. Okay, I'm trying.
I know. I agree. No, this movie's
Jordan.
There's hardly any humor in this movie at all. It's like a humor.
This movie's like being trapped in a bunker with people you don't really like.
That's another thing. Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of these people, you're like, I mean, the only people I like in this movie are the black people. Yeah. I'm going to be racist. The white people, though, I don't like any of the white people at all.
I hate to say it. There's like 3 blonde ladies, which I sometimes have a hard time telling apart, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And all the guys suck. I mean, there's nobody you want to hang out with.
Yeah.
So, except maybe Richard Jekyll is the voice of reason. I don't know.
I kind of want to drink with him, yeah.
But you don't want to drink with Cousins because he's an asshole. But he does. No. He has half the lines in the movie. I don't know.
Yeah, and he might try to take advantage of you too if you drink with him.
Yeah,
in the same quarter. Even if you are a guy.
Look, we're under the ground, and come on.
Let's make the best of this, huh?
Anyway, so McComber has an idea to kill the bats. And he wants to trap them and then electrocute them. So they take a pint of blood from every person.
Yeah, it's not weird at all. No.
It's normal, right? Like, yeah. Sure.
A whole pint of blood from her? That's asking a lot, isn't it? I mean, a whole pint of blood from everybody? Jeez, like.
That's 9 pints of blood. I don't know. I haven't done the math, Jordan. That's a lot of blood. That's like a lot of blood. I think. I don't know. I'm not a doctor or a nurse or...
That could save a lot of people.
It's a lot when you're trying to trap vampire bats. So they take these 9 pints of blood and then they put them on this electrified screen and then they cut out the lights. And then what happens, Jordan?
Oh, the bats will hopefully get electrocuted, but they don't all get electrocuted. There's too many of them.
Yeah. Well, what happens is a prop guy starts dumping bats down the shaft that they've been getting in from, like dumping them. I don't know what animal rights laws are like in Mexico, but they're, FYI, folks, they're using dead animals here. These are not.
I read that too. No joke, that they would gather these bats for these scenes a lot of times in a net. Many bats were killed during the making of this movie, unfortunately.
Literally, you're seeing bats die. It's not funny.
Yeah. Because they apparently did only live a day, like when they were shooting this movie, after they were being caught. According to Jackie Cooper, and Jackie Cooper apparently, and I think it was Babcock, they were actually the first because of this movie. I'm not making this up. This is what I looked up. They were for animal rights, basically. Yeah. Because Jackie Cooper and her thought it was horrible the way that bats were treated on this movie.
Yeah.
Because they were kind of just kicked around and just shuffled into a net, apparently. And poured into the set and shot. Yeah. And, other than, thank God for the opticals anyway. Thank God for the Frank Vandiver opticals as well.
And so the interview you were talking about with Barbara Babcock, where she was talking about that in Starlog, it's like she actually liked bats. She likes animals. Mm-hmm. But she was saying they didn't even give anybody like... They didn't have any screens. It was just the bats literally flying around, and nobody had rabies shots. Or, she and Jackie Cooper refused to get rabies shots.
I heard that, yeah. But I didn't know they
didn't have any screens. They were just flying the fuck around. So, and these weren't like trained bats, right? Or like with an animal handler had. No, they went to caves around Mexico City, threw a net out, and just grabbed freaking bats. Like, bats with disease. Like, literally bats with disease.
Real bats. And you can't, I can only imagine the smell of ammonia on the set, because that's the smell bats give off. Like, it's like this, it's like liquid latex kind of smell constantly.
Yeah.
That's what it smells like. It smells like liquid latex constantly.
Yeah.
That's just the odor they give off. They give off this stench like no other. And I can only imagine being the poor actors. I feel bad, man, for the poor actors in this movie.
Yeah, and then they begged them because the actors mutinied and refused to shoot. So then they finally put up invisible screens, plexiglass from Mexico Plexiglásico, who produced this picture clearly. And so she said she had a close up where she was looking at the bats, and then one of them got through and was like climbing up her leg. Right?
Oh my God.
And then she just shot through it. And she said when they fly, they're beautiful. Yeah. But when they walk, it's awkward, and they dig their hands into you. So it was like crawling up her body. And when it reached her shoulder, she was like, she didn't have her rabies shot. So she was like, done. I'm not.
Cut. I'm done.
And like you said, the bats only live for 24 hours. So most of them are dead. So you have dead bats everywhere.
Yeah.
Or flying around, getting injured, banging into things, bumping into things. So then she and Jackie Cooper spoke to the Academy of Motion Pictures of Arts and Sciences about, like you said, about the methods of treating animals. This was one of the films, even though it was shot in Mexico, where they don't have those laws, I think, about this type of thing. So it was apparently a very horrible situation with dead bats everywhere, no protection, down in Mexico, and just absolute chaos. And bats weren't even, like you said, even in the original script. And I think it's a disservice to the actors that they signed up for a movie that they didn't end up making here.
Actors hate that. They always hate that kind of thing. You know, you sign up for a movie that you read the script for, and then bam, they start changing shit up on you. They hate that.
Yes.
Of course, understandably.
When they start electrocuting these bats, I don't think they're really killing the bats, but I was sitting there, I'm like, are they really killing these damn bats, man?
Yeah.
I've become like a bat, like apologist, like a bat preserver here now watching this movie.
I know. Well, you can kind of tell. Well, you can see the difference between the optical bats by Frank Grandifer effects and the
real bats.
Real bats, yeah.
Because the optical bats are shit. They're absolutely terrible.
Yeah. It's like an anime. It's like
and it's not very good.
It's just a silhouette Disney animation kind of thing.
Because they're flying in front of people's faces. So literally they just have the screen and the actor's face, and they'll just superimpose bats flying over. And you just know these are just superimposed bats. These are silhouettes of bats. It looks terrible.
Some of those scenes where you see them dumping bats into the sets, and they look like they're bats about to die. Slowly moving, they're falling on top of each other. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're falling on top. That's what I was talking about.
Oh my God, that's kind of cringy. You know, I feel bad for these bats. These fucking ammonia-smelling bats. But still, they're bats, or they're creatures. Come on, man, be nice to the bats.
Yeah. Everyone who's listening to this podcast, if you care about this sort of thing, go out and foster a bat. There's many bats are injured each year in Mexican horror movies.
Do you know you can adopt a bat in your own home?
So just do your part.
Do not attempt that.
Guys, just kidding. Do not adopt bats. They're very dangerous animals.
I knew a girl that tried to do that, and it fucking nipped her in the cheek even. And I'm like, gross.
Oh man, no, I've had bats fly into the room. It's not fun. They try to adopt you. No, they don't want to be there. You don't want them to be there. It's just a situation where no one's happy. Anyway.
That's the other thing too. Bats in real life attacking. I've never had that happen. Like, where are these bats that fucking attack you?
Yeah, except for Barbara Babcock, nobody really wants. Bats don't want to be crawling on you guys. Give them some space. So anyway. Yeah, the prop guys dump the bats. The bats getting killed everywhere. It's really terrible. So then, not all the bats get electrocuted. A lot of them do, but enough that they think, okay, Macomber realizes like, oh, I know another way to get out of here. The elevator shaft. All we got to do is climb up that 1,735, whatever it was, foot elevator shaft.
Yeah. Got to be at least 1,600 feet.
Duh. Let's just do that. It's a good thing that we have an ex-Olympian here. Then everybody looks at Woody.
Yeah. And he's really tall. So it's not like a 5'7" guy climbing up. No, it's more like a 7-foot guy. So, you can reduce the amount of feet when you're climbing that high. It
works, yeah.
He won't have any trouble.
No, it's no problem. So anyway... He climbs the elevator shaft and he gets a grappling hook. Where did they get a grappling hook in this? I mean, seriously, in this bunker.
It happens.
Is that just like, okay, bunker, like we need cans of food. We need, some toilet paper and a grappling hook. All right.
It was left in the pantry. I don't know.
What's going on with this? Someone brought it with them? He just had it on him?
They had the rope too. Yeah, I mean, it was handy.
A very good tense scene with him. I like the scene where he's climbing to the top. It's like side adventure. Like a lot of movies have scenes where you have these tense moments of people climbing through and,
it's like the Abyss deep dive, at the end of the movie with Ed Harris, where he's got to go to the deep dive and she's all worried about him. And
someone's climbing something. I like scenes like that. It's very tense. It's very good.
This sequence, you could tell, it's a lot done with a little.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a tense sequence. I'll give it that.
It's a little set, but yeah, you're right. They got the most of it, and I respect them for that.
Probably a little set in a miniature, I imagine.
Yeah. So then he gets to the top, and then what happens, Jordan?
Top.
What happens?
Well, there's this little hole that maybe a bat might fly out of, this little crevice, this little crack in the side of the, and then there's more bat, and then bats start flooding in just as he's getting that door open, and they start eating the shit out of him as he's hanging there. And
I love it because he looks through this crack and there's this whole cavern full of bats behind this little crack, and they're trying to climb in. I love it. He shoves his gloves in there, which I liked,
to clog it up.
And and they still get in. And so he turns the alarm lever, so they're going to get rescued. But then the bats bite him in the face, and then what happens?
He falls to his, well, it's probably like a dummy, little miniature dummy,
Yeah, it's a
dummy falling.
They had a shaft that's long enough because it falls. It falls at least, however many feet. It looks pretty real.
Falls, and then he falls right into where he came out, the shaft that he came out, and everybody's freaked out. And then there's bats flying down in, and oh my God, it's just all hell breaks loose at this point in the movie.
Yeah.
And hopefully we get help.
And then Peter McComer's like, just kidding, there was an apocalypse after all, everybody. I'm just a card. And everyone's like, what?
Sorry, this is one batshit crazy apocalypse.
Oh, good one.
I'm sorry, I've been sitting on that joke forever.
Well, the bats attack everybody, just like that joke attacked everyone listening. And they stream into the bunker, and then they just start attacking everybody. And most of the people die, but the bunker hatch eventually opens and all the bats escape, where they get out.
They all fly out of that hatch. Yeah, it's like, what? Oh, they just needed that hatch to open the whole time so the bats could all fly out. Whoa.
Speaking of bat shit, why didn't people just go into one room? Because they say you can just stuff like towels under the door, right? And the bats won't get in. Why didn't everyone just go into a room? Instead of sitting out here in the open and letting bats attack you.
Because they didn't want to be that close to each other. They didn't want to be around each other in the first place, Anthony. Understand?
I would rather have bats attack me than be in a room with.
I'm sorry. I'm locked in this movie now. See, I'm talking like Jackie Cooper. How dare you keep us down here? How dare you lie to us?
And here's the kicker, Jordan. Here's why, if there was any redeeming quality about this movie, it's gone. It's dashed to bits. Because only a handful of people survive. Lenore, the Major, Maze the writer, Alana, and then freaking Cousins, the asshole dude who fucking broke the control room, who raped what's her name, all of this. Yeah. And he survives at the end.
That pissed me off that he survived. I wanted him to die.
How was he not fucking killed? By movie logic, like the asshole gets killed as
I hated that they
even in 70s movies.
I couldn't believe I know even in 1974, I can't believe they let him live in this movie. Good God. I could imagine everybody in the audience, especially the black people, would be like, man, fuck this honky, man. Fuck this guy. Be like, I want him to die first. No, he lives for the whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
What the fuck, man? I agree. Yeah. Even by 70s logic, he doesn't deserve to fucking live. Like, that's the guy you want to die already.
Yeah, so it's unsatisfying because, like, it's a 70s movie. Corporation's bad, so the corporate guy needs to die, and then, like, the government bad, government people need to die. So it was so dissatisfying that he lives at the end.
I agree. I'm all twisted up about this movie because of that, honestly. It's pissed me off, kind of. It's like I love the setup of this movie, but at the same time, I'm like, why? Oh, my God, they could have made a better movie.
There's no justice. But I do love the ending. And I don't know if I love the ending. That's strong words. But I like the ending where the recorded voice and picture of the lady's like, welcome to your second week. Man's destiny is in your hands. Cooperate with one another. Group sessions are recommended. And
crazy,
as they're being taken out, bloodied by these military personnel.
Yeah.
And that's it.
They're taken out differently from like the way they came in. That's what's the weird part too. They're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, madam, you have suffered a traumatic emotional trauma, you know.
And then the movie ends with an attorney, like a lawyer commercial. It's like, has the government trapped you in a facility with bats? Have you sustained injuries from that? Call 1-800-999-5555 Bat Justice.
You may be entitled to a settlement.
May be entitled to something.
Was you or a family member and trapped in a ground and told it was a government experiment at the end of the whole thing, even though you thought it was going to be an apocalypse?
And also, those facilities have asbestos. Call us 1-800.
Oh, wait, I just got an email about that.
I mean,
man, it's crazy though. This movie is batshit fucking crazy. No pun intended.
Is it, Jordan? Does it succeed as a horror movie?
Yeah, yes and no, because like you know, like at least a horror movie kind of gives you that satisfying feeling of the, you know, the dick getting the dick dying. Like Jurassic Park, we got to see the lawyer get eaten by that dickhead lawyer at the beginning of the movie who were telling the kids to, you know, put it back. It's expensive. What is this? An autoerotica? You know, we got the satisfaction of seeing him eaten by a T-Rex when he was going to go like hide in the John, you know, in the porta pod. But no, do we get that satisfaction? God damn it. I mean, I love Jackie Cooper, but yeah, I want him to die in this movie.
No, he could have been like attempting to rape Barbara Babcock.
Oh yeah, Babcock's character, yeah.
And have the bats kill him in the act. That's normally the kind of thing that happens. And you're like, oh, yeah, bat's bad, but, you know, comeuppance.
Yeah, exactly. Have a bat fucking come in there like and fucking jump on his back and fucking just... But it does succeed as a horror movie on a different level. It's a different level horror film. It's a claustrophobic, even if it's not shot that way, it's still claustrophobic. It's just you and these actors in this movie and the bats, and that makes it claustrophobic right there. And you're in an underground bunker where you don't see anything like any vista other than on the monitors, and every corridor's got like an aquarium in it, and that's the most scenery you get, you know, other than the sterile atmosphere. Mm-hmm. So it succeeds on as a horror film on that level, but I mean, it's not the slasher horror film kind of film, or it's not even a vampire fucking slasher film, really. Well, I guess it's kind of in the vampire category, kind of.
Ish.
It's a great double bill with Nightwing, but it'd have to be at the bottom of the bill.
Yeah. Nightwing's a fucking movie about bats.
But yeah, it's another movie about bats attacking. Nightwing was more straightforward, though. Nightwing was just like, hey, there's fucking bats here. They're attacking. We got to do something. We got to figure something out, but they're attacking. We got to run. That was it. It was just...
There wasn't any political commentary in there. There wasn't any... Nobody was in a bump. Yeah, like the government.
No, there was more like a religious kind of commentary there, but barely.
Well, does this movie succeed as a post-apocalypse or an apocalyptic movie?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It succeeds.
Bunker and all that.
But the whole false ending part, it's like, this was just a demonstration, like, because that really is what sets up the third act right there, right? Bradford Dillman. That kind of ruins the whole thing, because then you're like, what?
I kind of like that part, because I was like, what? It kept me guessing. You're right. Does it work as a story? No. You feel gypped as the audience. Feel gypped as the audience. You're just like, what the fuck, man? What am I watching? Which is the right reaction. But at the same time, I'm like, it's taking risks. I'm like, I haven't seen anything like this before. I kind of like this.
I know, right? Yeah, I agree. It takes risks. I mean, it's like, it's that kind of 70s movie I like, though. Like, I can't completely dismiss it and blow it off as a turd, because it's an interesting 70s movie. Science fiction, of course, apocalyptic, like I love. There's nothing I love more than a 70s or 80s apocalyptic movie. Predicting the apocalypse
So the good thing, and I mean, I don't know if it succeeds as a political thriller because it's only that seems tacked on.
Not really, no.
It's weird. Like the original idea seems tacked on at the end of it.
Yeah.
Because we focus on the bats so much. But I think the good is it's atmospheric. I like the acting. What do you think about the acting?
Oh, the acting's great, man. And I mean, hats off to the actors for having to, make a movie in this situation. I mean, it's obviously nothing new to them. They're just on a set, once again, saying dialogue in front of a camera. But yeah, I think they make the most of it, though. They really, I can tell the actors are trying their hardest. The actors are all great. I mean, I hate some of the dialogue they say, but maybe that's not all their fault. That's a two-way street, once again, with directing and writing, and three-way street, really.
And I like the bats in a way, not the rotoscope bats, but the actual bats are filmed pretty well. I love this idea, the bunker. People brought in there against the will.
See, that's what I like, though. I like that part of it more than the fucking bats. Why'd the bats have to be in there? That's my biggest gripe.
Maybe the bats can be just a part of it. Maybe that's like at the end that happens, it's just one of many things that breaks down or something, instead of just the whole plot here.
Yeah.
And I like the wow factor. This is so weird, Jordan. This is a weird fucking movie. This is perfect 70s weird. Is it good? I don't know. But it's special kind of 70s weird, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on that. It is my type of 70s weird, though. Like, as much as I critique it, I probably would be like, I may have to check it out a year from now again.
Yeah. But the not so good, the bats, man. The bats.
Why did the bats have to be in there, though? I don't know. That bothers me. Because to me, they have the perfect Twilight Zone setup so far with all these great actors. And then the bats come in there and it cheeses up the whole thing, in my opinion, the bats.
Yeah. I bet the writer was pissed when they monkeyed around with this. I bet there was an interesting concept there, because these are some fairly B-level actors, some decent actors at this time.
Yeah.
Good cast. So I'm just I would have liked that. It probably would have been a slow, boring 70s movie.
I mean, yeah, these are actors at this point that are in A-list and B-list movies. You know, that's the quality of acting they had in this movie, whether they liked it or not. They had some quality actors, and they kind of pissed it away a little bit.
That tense drama, which we probably honestly would not have watched, let's be honest, about a bunch of people trapped in a bunker and this drama, and it turns out it's not actually an apocalypse. It's the government tricking these people, and this stage play and this taut 70s drama that would have been really slow and boring. But Jordan, the only reason we watched this was because of the damn bats, right? What the fuck,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
This whole honky caper, as that one guy said in the movie.
This is an interesting film. I don't know what else to say about it, Jordan. What kind of rating do you give this fine film?
Man, this is a tough one. God. See, I give it a 5 out of 10 as far as writing goes and plot goes and scripting. And, I understand it's not all the writer's fault too on this movie. It seems like it might have been a producer thing forced. I don't know. I give it a low rating, but I'm still fascinated by this movie. I'll say that. But I give it a 5 out of 10 batshit crazy bats, But it still fascinates me, this movie. I'm not slamming this movie completely here. It is fascinating. The only thing I hate in the movie is the rape part, but I don't like that in any movies, honestly. How about you, Anthony? What rating do you give this?
God, this is a tough one. This may be the toughest I think I've had, because on one hand, it's not a good movie. But
that's the other thing. I'm pissed off kind of at it at the same time.
Yeah. It's the special kind of pissed off when you're like, this could have been a really good movie.
Yes, exactly. Like these 9 people, 10 people thrown in a isolated condition together underground. That's interesting, actually. That's the human predicament that we all want to see in a movie or a play or whatever. We want to see it, whether even it's on YouTube or TikTok. We want to see that. That's what we want to see. Sorry, that's the way it's always been. That's the way it always will be. You know?
But it's short, okay? It's not 2.5 hours long, okay? So it's an hour and a half of your life. It's unique. I think it's a 5. It's a 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
But for the weird factor and the fact that I hadn't seen this before, and what the hell, I'll give it a 6. 6.5. 6.5. I know. It doesn't deserve it. It doesn't deserve it. But there's a special kind of weird charm to this, and I don't like the kills. For a horror movie, the kills are sloppy and bad. Okay?
Yeah, agree.
But it's just so weird. That's half of it's just the concept. Just peering, sort of. If you could fan edit this and just cut the bats out, and then you would have a 45-minute movie.
Well, now I'm tempted, Anthony.
Of just the subterfuge underground by the government.
That's what I mean. It could have been a really well done movie version of a Twilight Zone episode. You know?
And this just goes to show that like most movies are neither good nor bad. They have good things that they do and things are not so good. And this is the perfect movie. Like the concept is wow. I'd love to see this remade or re-executed.
Done better,
closer to the original. You could even have a bat scene.
Yeah. Or remade better. The way John Carpenter did The Thing better, you know?
Yeah. Or you could even have someone murdering people in, there's murders. I mean, you could go a lot of places with this.
My God, they could have done Agatha Christie here. That would have been interesting too, even, right?
Yeah. If
it had been like, who's doing all this? What's happening?
Yeah. And then have like a Descent monster, like from The Descent or something. Or you can go a lot of places with this.
Yeah.
But not freaking bats, man. Leave the bats alone. Maybe one scene where bats are attacking people, but then do not make that the whole movie. Do not put that on your poster also, if you're going to make that your movie.
Oh, the poster says, not since the birds. And that's what they were trying to do here. They were trying to do the birds again.
And it's shitty even as a bat movie, really.
It's not a good remake of the birds either. Like, the birds knew what it was. I don't know. You know?
For the curious only, I say. And I give it, 6 out of 10 bats licking fake blood off of things. I don't know. There's a lot of bats licking blood. I don't know, off of things.
Bats licking corn syrup blood off of metal screens.
Anyway, that has been a very long and in-depth discussion about a movie that probably doesn't deserve this much discussion, Chosen Survivors. And Jordan, maybe next time we'll talk about some other movie without vampire bat abuse or bat abuse.
Yeah, I need a break after this. It'll be a while before I go watch Nightwing again, even.
Guys, go watch Nightwing. And maybe sadly without bunkers, people being forced into bunkers. That's interesting.
Yeah, what the fuck, man? I don't know any other way to describe this movie other than, like I said, it's just a bad dream. The whole thing's it's like this bad dream you have, but also without any script or logic, or like a bad dream without any logic to it, or, I just woke up from this dream, honey. I just dreamed I was with these other people and we were in this bunker and it was the end of the world and these bats were attacking.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Dream logic. It is interesting. It has an interesting factor to it. It's not completely awful. So
yeah.
I
probably will go look at it again at some point. I'm sure.
Fan edit. The Jordan Spite edit. Anthony, I cut everything out. The movie is now 14 minutes long.
Don't tempt me.
All right, so everyone, thank you all for listening. We really appreciate every single one of you that gives us your time. And if you like this, please listen to our other episodes. Tell your friends. Tell your Bat Club, your local Bat Club that we're talking about this movie. We don't always talk about movies with bats, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, like, subscribe, whatever, mash those buttons on however you're listening to this. We'd really appreciate some positive feedback. And if you have a movie that you want us to talk about, maybe reach out and we'll consider it. So, thanks a lot. All right, Jordan, this has been
the Robots Took My Podcast. Listen, Anthony, it's just me and you on this podcast and these 9 other people, so you just get off my back, okay? Get off my back!
All trailers, clips, music, or any other copyrighted material are used sparingly, edited from their original forms, and used for the purposes of criticism, discussion, commentary, and education about these fine films.